Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. I am Ron Luce, joined by me, myself, and I. Another solo Sunday for me. I kind of like these solo Sundays. They're kind of becoming a thing. I don't think they're going to last forever, but every now and again they are pretty fun. It's fun just to kind of sit here and vent and see what anybody that joins me in the comment section has to say about this Cubs team. But we are talking about much better fortunes than we were last weekend. Albeit a series win last weekend as well. Makes it 3 straight series wins for the Cubs after this Baltimore series. A huge series victory. Would have loved the sweep, admittedly, maybe selfishly, but they still get the job done at the end of the day. A huge, huge, huge series win from this Cubs team, taking 2 out of 3. Again, not just the Orioles of old. This is a very good Baltimore Orioles team that this team played over the weekend. Taking 2 out of 3 from a team like that certainly says quite a bit about this ball club. And really, it all started on Friday, right? I mean, Friday, a perfect day for baseball at Wrigley. The City Connect jerseys were out. The boys are feeling good. Kyle Hendricks, a solid 5 innings of work, just 1 strikeout, 2 earned runs, 5 hits, didn't walk anybody. Cubs did not walk a single batter as a pitching staff in Friday's win. Fulmer looked good. Anthony Kay looked good. Assad got beat up for a run, but at that point it didn't matter. Gave them 2 innings of work out of the pen late. And it was a huge, huge victory because the Cubs bats came through. 10 runs in that 10-3 victory. Nico Horner with 2 of those for 2 ribbies. Morel had 3 RBI on 3 hits. Mancini had 2 hits in the game. You know, he had a little bit of a, I don't want to say a chip on his shoulder, but he certainly wanted to impress against his former team and really the team that I think defined his career as a player, truthfully. You know, only spent a half a season with the Houston Astros before signing with the Cubs. Hap came through in the clutch in a pinch hitting situation. Miguel Amaya even showed up with a big home run to kind of get the offense started. Just an overall beautiful day from the Cubs. And I think that win, more than anything else, just shows what this Cubs team can do. You know what I mean? This Cubs team is talented. I think we've seen that at stretches this year. I think we all saw that in April. But we saw what this team is at its worst in the month of May, right? The bats did not show up. You only got probably 2 to 3 really consistent pitching performances out of every go through the rotation. That was what you didn't want to see. Now we're starting to see this team heat up again here in June, right? Coming off a huge series victory against the Giants, who again are a good ball club in their own right. A sweep of the what was the first place Pittsburgh Pirates, I believe now entering play today. They sat in 3rd place in the division. The NL Central is just an absolute gong show. Every team in the divisions within, I think it's like 5 games. The Cubs are 4th place and they're only 2.5 back of the lead. I mean, it is a tight, just absolute mess right now in the NL Central. So you take care of the Pirates at home, and then you rode that momentum into this Baltimore series. And I think that was the biggest key because 4 in a row is what Friday's win made it. And then, yeah, maybe the bats didn't show up the same way on Saturday, but this Cubs team got it done again. Justin Steele, obviously the big news, returning from the IL after a stint there with that forearm tightness that landed him on the IL just a few weeks ago. Justin came back, picked up his 7th win of the season. He went a strong 5. They said they were going to limit him to about 75 pitches. I mean, he gave them exactly what you would ask for. 74 pitches out of Justin, 54 of which were for strikes. So he was dealing 2.71 ERA after giving up those 2 earned runs, but just the 1 walk and 4 strikeouts for Justin to pick up the win. Merriweather and Leiter Jr. collect the holds. Leiter going 2 innings of work in that game too. And then Adbert, your new Chicago Cubs closer, if you didn't know already, picked up the save, and he drops his ERA even further, just a $1.97 now for Adbert Alzolay. He has been so good. And I think that was the definition of the first 2 games of this Cubs series, was truly just how good the pitching was. Kyle looked good in that game against Baltimore. Second time through the order, they got to him a little bit, but ultimately limited the damage, only allowed the 2 runs at the time, and then the Cubs bats exploded in that 6th inning to just give cushion and allow the bullpen to do whatever they needed to do. 7-run wins are cool and tough, let me tell you. But then you saw the complete opposite in Saturday's game. You know, the Orioles kept it tight, 3-2 ball game. Justin gets the win, pitches a really good 5 innings coming right off the IL. I would imagine he probably gets back up to that 6 inning mark in his next start, which, if I do the math correctly, I believe lines up for when the Cubs are in London against the Cardinals. And more on that this coming week. Be sure to tune in with us on Wednesday. We got a special guest. That one's going to be a fun episode. But then the bullpen shut it down. Merriweather has been sensational lately. He has been so good ever since that really rough start in April. He has really settled in. You got 2 really strong innings from Leiter. And then again, Alzolay continuing to show he is this team's closer. I think he should be. I've had this conversation with my dad before, which also, happy Father's Day to all the Cubs on Tap listeners. We hope you guys enjoyed the day. Hopefully everybody got to spend time either with your dad or, with your kids if you are a dad. Certainly a day worth celebrating. Cubs getting the win probably would have been the cherry on top, but nonetheless, a beautiful Sunday in the Chicagoland area. So hopefully everybody got to enjoy that this weekend. But, this Cubs team is just getting it done on the Father's Day weekend. And then, like we said, Merriweather, Leiter, Alzolay. Talking with my dad, when Hoyer comes back, him and Adbert, interchangeable in that 8-9 role. But Adbert really right now has kind of taken that, opportunity to close games and kind of run with it. And he's been really, really special to watch. Scott joining me in the comments. As always, sir, appreciate you so much. He says 5 out of 6 at home. The team is getting hot. # don't let this team get hot. I completely agree. And I know that is Scott's slogan probably for the rest of the season. I saw the tweet, Scott. Don't you worry. But yeah, man, this Cubs team is getting hot. They look good. Even in today's game, right? Yes, Tyone probably didn't have it. And let's talk about that first before we step back and look at a 30,000 foot view here. Obviously, Tyone did not have his best start. But he gave you 5 1/3. He gave you 5 1/3, but the 8 hits, 4 earned, 2 walks, just 1 K, which is really down from Tyone's norms. We saw that a lot earlier in the season where maybe he'd only give you 4 innings and he'd give up 3 or 4 runs, but he would K 7 or 8 batters. Now that K number really far down. Cubs only struck out 3 Orioles batters today. Anthony K got beat up for a run in this one. Fulmer, a clean 3rd inning of work. And then Wesneski really just gave up the 1 run on the 3 hits and 3 innings of work. Have to really not be too mad about Wesneski late in the game doing what he did. Would love to see Tyone kind of, I guess, get his shit together, for lack of a better statement, but certainly not enough there. And then obviously Talkman, brought some fireworks early in this one with the leadoff home run. But after that, just 2 more Cubs hits the entire day. Bats were really cold today. Kremer, a good pitcher too. I got to give credit where credit is due. He went 5 innings of strong work, giving up the 3 runs. Just one of those was earned. 2 walks, but he struck out 7 in the process. And then their bullpen just came in and shut it down. Again, Orioles team, they're a good ball club. No surprise that the bullpen did what they did in their 4 total innings of work. Bautista picked up his 19th save already of the season for the O's. And yeah, like we said, Morel, the big 2-run home run. Dansby had a base hit. That was it. That was all the offense was able to muster today. Still plated 3 runs and just 3 hits. The power. I think that was something very, 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 very key in this series. The power was there. Something that I think the Cubs fan base has just screamed for all season long was give us some power, give us some home runs, give us something. This Cubs team's starting to pick it up. You had Amaya, you had Swanson, you had Morel on Friday. In Saturday's game, certainly not as much power, but nice to see Horner, driving the ball and picking up that double that plated 2 runs. And then even today, all 3 runs for the Cubs despite the loss coming on the long ball. Talkman with the solo shot to lead the game off, and then Morel's 2-run bomb. So you have to at least be pretty happy, I would say. I am seeing the power start to kind of come through from this Cubs team. The guys that you would hope would bring the power are bringing the power. Talkman was a nice surprise, obviously first home run of the season for him. But Dansby, expect him to have some power, right? I'm not expecting Dansby Swanson to hit 50 home runs, but 25 to 30, I think, is a very fair number for a guy like Dansby Swanson, and that's what he's been able to do over the course of his career. Morel has been stupid good. Stupid good. Today was his 13th home run in the majors. If you figure the 10 that he hit in AAA, he's got 23 total home runs across two levels this season. That's nuts. That's, I think, by far best in the system. I don't think anybody's touched that number. Just showing exquisite power is Christopher Morel, and like Jeremiah says here in the comments, Morel is so good, and he's starting to get it back. And I saw an article from Andy Martinez over at Marquee Sports Network on Saturday. I was reading it, and it was a quote from Christopher Morel talking about how this kind of, I guess we'll call it a resurgence again from him. A lot of that he credits to Dansby Swanson for just being that veteran leader and sitting him down and just saying, hey, man, look, do what you did when you first came up and you lit the world on fire. Slow the game down, take your breath, take your time. Don't try to do too much. Just play, just be you, is more or less what he told them. And sometimes athletes need that, especially young guys, right? It's nice if you're a Christopher Morel who has probably now maybe just over a full season of actual MLB service time. To hear it from a guy who's been around the block like Dansby Swanson, who's won Gold Gloves, who's won a World Series, that carries weight. And I think that goes to show just what this Cubs team is starting to gel into. But it's nice seeing a guy like Christopher Morel provide that consistent power on a day-to-day basis right now. Because, again, I think we all said it coming into the season. I think all of our lovely listeners that join us here in the comments section said it during the offseason. I think we said it as a Cubs on Tap panel that this team was probably not going to have a ton of guys hit home runs. And I know my bold prediction was 25 home run hitters, and that looks really piss poor right now, unfortunately. But that could change. The bats are starting to heat up from a power perspective. So maybe I won't look like such an asshole. Nonetheless, Morel's probably going to get you 25. But now we need to see Dansby get there. We need to see a guy like Seiya Suzuki get there. I think Belly can do it. There's opportunity. Let's just say that. Nonetheless, it is still, we knew this Cubs team was not going to hit a ton of home runs. But it is still nice to see some of that power now starting to come as the weather warms up in Chicago. And I think that was something we said. April's going to be a lot of this Cubs team winning games with timely hitting and with good pitching, right? May was probably going to be a little bit of the same way. Now in June, when the wind's blowing out at Wrigley, you can get some balls up in the stratosphere that maybe wouldn't go otherwise. That'll start to produce some home runs for this team. And it's going to be really good. I will agree, just referring back to the comment section here, Jeremiah said Peacock trash. Absolutely agree. I actually tried to catch as little of the actual broadcast as I physically could today because of that. I followed along a lot on the Game Day app and then with Pat and Ron on the radio. I knew it wasn't going to be good. As soon as I see it's one of Apple TV or Peacock, I immediately I have a little bit of meh feeling toward that. But getting back to some more baseball talk here, Scott was saying 4-1-1 in the last 6 series. Keep stacking series wins. The Pirates, Brewers, and Reds are all frauds, according to Scott. I think the Reds are maybe the only team in there, Scott, that I don't want to say argue you and tell you you're wrong, because I'm not going to say you're wrong. But I think they're the team that just has the momentum right now in this division, truthfully. You look at it from an up-down perspective. Ellie De La Cruz has been the adrenaline shot in the arm for that ball club ever since he's been called up. Him and McLean. McLean has been just as good as well. Those two have really sparked that team to do some good stuff. It's going to be really interesting to see if they can keep that up. But they've had a hell of a resurgence here. Currently sitting what I believe is second in the standings. I'm going to quickly pull that up on the side here as I continue to talk. But, I think this Pirates team is still not bad. I think they maybe overproduced a smidge early in the season, but this Pirates team is not bad. Like, they have a lot of up and coming talent. To me, their biggest issue is pitching, because I think a lot of their starters are either guys that are overproducing right now that won't do that consistently, or they are just aged veterans. Rich Hill is a perfect example of that, right? Good old Dick Mountain. I think if some of their young pitchers that they have down in, especially in AAA Indianapolis, start to filter up, I think they could keep a reasonable pace where they could be in it at the end of the season for the central title. I do believe the Brewers are frauds, though. I completely agree with that. I will always say Milwaukee are a bunch of frauds because I just hate that team. But as we stand today, I say the Brewers are frauds, yet they've won three straight and have a half game lead now over the Reds. But the Reds are on an 8-game winning streak. That's nuts. That's the type of winning streak that flips the standings on their head. And even with today's loss, the Cubs are still just 4 games back after being 7-3 in their last 10 in this division. I mean, this division's still up for grabs, especially because the Cubs have a 4-game set with the Brewers coming up here in the next couple of weeks, right actually after the July 4th holiday, or right around the July 4th holiday, pardon me, the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, I believe. They're actually in Milwaukee. So another opportunity for this team to make up ground. And I think, back to Scott's point about 4-1-1 in the last 6 series, this team is getting hot. They absolutely need to keep stacking series wins because if you stack series wins against your division rivals, who there's quite a few of them on the schedule coming up now as we get into July here. Again, that's how you flip the standings. And this Cubs team has shown they can play up to good teams. They tend to play down to bad teams, and they've done that the last couple of years. We saw that a lot last season as well, where a really good team will come into town and they'll keep pace with them, and then some crap team comes in, and you're just like, what are we doing? Hopefully that doesn't happen, especially with the Cardinals on the schedule coming up here. But we got 3 more with the Pirates. This is a time to continue flipping that standings around here. But we'll get that to here in a little bit. Jeremiah also saying Morel is going to make the All-Star team on DH. I'm calling it. That would be impressive, especially for a guy who did not come up, really until the end of April. I think that would be incredible if he did. I would be very happy for Christopher if he did. I think that would be such a cool thing. I just I don't know if he's got enough of service time, but hey, anything can happen. I will not say that's not going to happen. Quickly to Scott here too. He says, how long was Wisdom hurt? The way he was hitting, this could have been for a long time. In my opinion, they waited on him on the DL not to waste call-ups. That is totally possible. That is actually, I'm going to bring that comment back up as I talk about this. I think that's a great point because again, it's a wrist sprain, right? And he might have said, I'm going to try and play through it. And it ended up either being worse or getting worse. I think it could have gotten worse, Scott, on that play that he tried to make where he kind of made the slide to try to backhand that ball that was down the left field line on Friday. And you kind of saw his wrist roll over. That might have been what did it officially and kind of aggravated it. But it's an intriguing point, right? Because we didn't see a lot of Patrick Wisdom in the lineup on a consistent basis. Maybe on those off days, that was what he was doing, was just trying to keep that wrist loose, trying to keep it strong, rehabbing it, icing it, whatever it was, working with the trainers. I'm very intrigued to know how long that wrist injury has been nagging him. But now he's on the IL. Hopefully he can recover and get back to strength. Because again, even if Wisdom isn't playing on a day-to-day basis, I still think that he brings value to this team in the sense of he's a good power bat. I don't mind him being in the lineup every now and again. I don't love him in left field, admittedly. I think perfect case scenario, you keep him away from the outfield and let him play more third and maybe even first, if it's a day that you DH a guy like Bellinger or something like that. But definitely something interesting you could consider, Scott. So I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to take a quick swig here. Again, a little cheers, a little happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. But just kind of reeling it back into this 3-game set. Yeah, I think Sunday's game was a little disappointing. I think we can all officially say that. Of course, my refrigerator doesn't want to cooperate. It's going to be loud. But this Cubs team did so many good things in this series. They, for the most part as a team, I'll put a little asterisk there because I think Friday's game was a little sloppy defensively. But I think in totality, I think they've played really well defensively as of late as well. They've gotten the pitching that they need outside of, unfortunately, Tyone today. And they're pitching-wise, especially in the starting rotation, they are at full health for the first time in a long time, right? This is the first time that we've really seen a lot of Steele and Hendricks in the rotation kind of crossing and everybody being here. Stroh's healthy. Justin's back. Kyle's healthy, and Hendricks has looked really good overall. You've got Smiley, who has pitched really well, and we're actually going to talk a little bit more about because he's on the bump on Monday. Really their biggest thing right now is if they can get Tyone right. And at this point, by right, I mean if he can give you 5 to 6 innings of work and not give up more than 3 runs. I think on a perfect day scenario at this point with the way he's throwing, and I know there's people that are probably listening to me say that and go, but we're paying him 17 mil. He should be doing better. I agree with you. But at this point, it's all about just salvaging what we can get, right? And that's just in any situation. Things aren't going to go as expected. Get what you can get out of a guy. Again, if he can eat innings for you and keep you in ball games, 3 runs to me is keeping you in a ball game. 5 to 6 innings of work, so your bullpen's not getting torched every fifth day. That is perfect case scenario, in my opinion, for with a guy like Jameson Tyone. If they can do that, awesome. I think that's exactly what the Cubs need. And then the other 4 are going to give you really good starts every time they're out on the bump. And again, that sets you up for success in a very weak NL Central, despite the Cubs having an awful month of May. I think we can absolutely be sitting here in just a couple more weeks now when, 4th of July holiday rolls around and that Brewers series is on the calendar, and very much just confidently sit here and say that, yeah, this Cubs team's got a shot. They've got a legitimate chance in this division to make noise and shake it up a little bit because nobody's running away with it. Nor do I think anybody will. I don't think the Reds are going to run away with it. They're getting good pitching, but they're not getting great pitching. And I think they've also benefited from playing some teams like the Cardinals and some of these other teams. They've beaten some good teams, but they might be the only one that truly poses any kind of weird threat to the Cubs over the course of the season. And we saw a lot of the Reds recently. We saw them before the LED, the Cruz. So, if the Cubs get the limit how much they have to see him, I think that benefits. And then you just have to hope the rest of the league does their job and keeps them down on the totem pole. Just again, guys, I think we can all sit here and confidently say it was a fun weekend of Cubs baseball again. Friday's game was a ton of fun. Would have been a beautiful day to be at the ballpark if you were. Saturday's game, exact same thing. Both Joey and Tyler were at the game on Saturday. They were each posting a little bit of content from Wrigley Field. I was very, very envious and jealous, to say the least. It would have been a beautiful day to be at the ballpark. Glad they were able to get out there. And then again today, still a gorgeous day to be at the ballpark, but a 6-3 loss is certainly disappointing in the end of it. So great series win though. We'll keep taking them. Like Scott said, we'll bring it back up here. 4-1-1 in their last 6 series. Keep stacking series wins, and they will have an opportunity to start that again on the road in Pittsburgh on Monday. Quick comment here from Scott. And I will share just some final thoughts again on this series before we go ahead and look forward to Pittsburgh. Scott says, Ben Brown, Jared Young, and David Bodie are ready for the call-up. Oh, and Matt Mervis is getting hot being back in Iowa. Any injury from the current lineup doesn't worry me at all. Yeah, I mean, this Cubs team has a lot going on. I think Bodie they're happy about just from the depth perspective of what he can do. I think if we were to see another injury on the infield, aka Nick Madrigal, aka feels weird saying his name like that, Nick Madrigal, maybe even Morel. I hope we don't see a Morel injury, but I think there's a world where we could see a David Bodie. Jared Young, a guy that got a little bit of a cup of coffee with the Cubbies in 2022. I know he's been having a good season as I've followed from afar what the AAA Iowa Cubs are doing. And then, yeah, Ben Brown. My dad and I talk about Ben Brown, I feel like every other day when we just have general conversation about Cubs baseball. I think he's in the bullpen at some point. I think the Cubs are going to be putting together enough wins where having him in your bullpen for the rest of the season makes sense. And then building him up next year to be a starter and potentially compete for a rotation spot. I think there's a world where he's in the Cubs rotation next year. I mean, his last start out that I saw, 6 innings of work, 6 hits, no walks, and 11 strikeouts. Woo! Woo! Yeah, you keep doing that, kid, and you'll be in the big league soon enough. And yeah, that was the biggest thing I think Mervis just needed was he needs the everyday at bats. If he wasn't getting them in Chicago and Belly's coming back playing first because I think a couple of people have noted both between here on Cubs Untapped and people I've talked to that he's probably not 100% with the knee yet. He's healthy enough, but they just don't want to risk it, especially the way Talkman's playing in center field right now. Belly playing first is awesome, but I agree. It's nice having knowledge that there's depth now. It feels like really with this Cubs team that we don't have to get too concerned. It sucks losing a guy like Bellinger, and I think Cubs fans saw that in the month of May. But in totality, there are guys that are ready to step up, and I think that's something that the Cubs haven't had in a while. Besides those 4A tweeners, over the course of a handful of years. But final thoughts: series wins are fun, man. Bats were hot. Keep hitting home runs. That's my final thought. Keep hitting home runs. Ball go far, team go far. Boys over at Sox on Tap say that they're not entirely wrong. You got to hit some home runs. It's a part of baseball. Ball go far, team go far. And right now the Cubs are benefiting off the hot weather in Chicago. It's going to be a steamy bitch this week. Then they go across the pond. I don't know what the weather's going to be like in London, but then they return. They're pretty much heading into the 4th of July holiday. They got the Phillies back home when they get back. I will be at the third and final game of that series. Hopefully getting some good live content from the ballpark. And hopefully they're talking about another series win because, again, keep stacking series wins. Ball go far, team go far, keep hitting home runs. Let's go ahead and look ahead. The Cubs have a 3-game set with the Pittsburgh Pirates this week. As we mentioned before, a trip across the pond. Cubs play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then they depart for London. Thursday, Friday are off days. The Cubs will play at 12 o'clock. I believe it's 12:10 officially Central Time from London on Saturday. And then on Sunday morning, wake up, folks, with some baseball as you eat your breakfast because the Cubs play at 9:10 in the morning Central Time. So it's a 3 o'clock local time in London on Sunday. It's a 6 o'clock local time game on Saturday from the UK. And then they have an off day Monday, and then they're back for the Phillies on Tuesday at Wrigley Field. For a 3-game set and then a 6-game homestand because the Guardians come to town then entering that 4th of July holiday before that visit to Milwaukee during the actual holiday. So take advantage. You got 3 with the Pirates. PNC is a fun place to hit. Ian Happ likes hitting in PNC. Yeah, we want to see more of that. But we will go ahead and preview the first 2 games. We'll be back with you on Tuesday night following that game. Tomorrow will be our off day for Cubs on Tap. But do be sure, as always, join our friends over at the Dingers Podcast. They will be live right between that 8 and 8:30 time, Central Time Zone time, 8 and 8:30. Join them in the conversation and in the comments right here on the On Tap Sportsnet YouTube channel or on Facebook. As again, the boys do a great job over at Dingers. So be sure to join them and listen in on Monday night. But that Monday night game for the Cubbies against the Pirates, it's a 6:05 Central Time start. All early games this week because they're in the Eastern Time Zone on Monday from PNC, which a beautiful ballpark. So happy I finally got to get out and see that ballpark this year. Unfortunately, the Cubbies being in Pittsburgh, the Cubbies are in Pittsburgh in August for a weekend. And there's a very small part of me that wants to go out for that series, but we will see because that ballpark is gorgeous. Such a great place to take in a ball game. Nonetheless, the Cubs are putting Drew Smiley on the bump. He's 6-4 with a 3.59 ERA. The left-hander is. And the youngster Beto, who made his debut against the Cubs just last week, gets to see them again. 2.25 ERA with that 0-0 record. As again, we mentioned that young starting pitching starting to get to the big leagues for the Pirates. And then Tuesday's game for the Cubs, it's going to be a good one. Get your tickets for the Stro Show. Marcus Stroman's on the bump on Tuesday night for the Cubs. Another 6:05 start from PNC Park in Pittsburgh. He's 8-4 with a 2.45 ERA, that being Stroman. And it will be Oviedo once again on the mound, another guy the Cubs saw last week, 3-6 with a 4.40 ERA for the Buccos. And again, we will be back following that one. We'll be back after the Stro start here live at Cubs on Tap. I can't tell you who's going to be there, but we'll be there. We'll be there nonetheless. Couple quick thoughts here from Blake. We'll do it. He says the series can really put the Pirates away. He says let's destroy Henry's debut. Maybe that's Wednesday then that Henry's debuting. Nonetheless, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. It's going to be good, folks. This is a time to jump on the Pirates and get those games back in the NL Central. You did it last week at Wrigley. The Cubs have a lot of guys that like to hit at PNC, especially Ian Happ. And he's actually going to be my fly the W pick. We're just going to get it out of the way right now. Ian Happ, there's 2 places in this world that aren't Wrigley Field that Ian Happ loves to hit in. It's Cincinnati, Ohio, and it's Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Why? He played college ball in Cincinnati, and he's from Pittsburgh. Ian Happ is my fly the W player for this 3-game set. I hope he has another crazy series just like he did against the Pirates at Wrigley. The Cubs are going to need it. especially if they want to try and continue to put the Pirates away and just build momentum in the NL Central. Keep pace with the Brewers, keep pace with this red hot Reds team, and make it a three-horse race. And start to put the Pirates away and put them in the rear view. And hopefully the Cubs can do the same with the Cardinals then come the weekend. But good pitching, ball go far, team go far, and Ian Happ. That's what I think it comes to this series. I think it's that simple, folks. But it's going to be a good one nonetheless. So again, 2:06:05 starts Central Time against the Buccos this week. We'll be back with you after the Stroman start on Tuesday. Join the Dingers boys Monday for that discussion. They'll be live right around probably toward the end of that Pirates game, so it will be a little bit of a recap of sorts, as well as them just catching up on all things Cubs in the last week that they have not been on the air. And then you will hear from us on Tuesday. And then Wednesday is a special episode. We probably won't come to you right after the game because if my brain tells me correctly, that is an 11:35 local time start. We'll probably come to you live about a little after 3 o'clock Central Time. I know a lot of people work. I apologize. If you can listen to music at work, just throw us on the YouTube and put us in your earbuds. Or you can listen to it on the podcast form when it becomes available. I'm not going to spoil who it is yet. I will tell you on Tuesday, but let's just say there's going to be a heavy emphasis about this weekend. And I think you could probably start to make some guesses. Nonetheless, it's going to be a good episode. But we will be back with you once again on Tuesday right here from Cubs on Tap. Before I get out here, I want to remind everybody Cubs on Tap is one of two, as always, podcasts that cover the Chicago Cubs for the On Tap Sports Network. Check out Dingers. They are live on Monday, between 8 and 8:30 Central Time right here on the On Tap Sportsnet YouTube. Be sure to join the conversation, join the boys. It's going to be a great show, as it always is from the Dingers podcast. Make sure you follow them on social media as well, at Dinger Cubs on Twitter and Instagram. The boys do a great job covering the Cubbies as well. We are at Cubbies on Tap, Cubbies, also on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me at Loose on Tap on Twitter. Follow all the boys as well at Juice on Tap, at Joey Knows Nothing, at Teddy Freddy 270, at Nick_on Tap, and at Bulls Guy Rob. Everybody does a great job here supporting the Cubs on Tap brand. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, you know the drill. Busy time coming up for all of those teams. The Bears just completed minicamp. A big interview coming up this week from Bears on Tap. Be sure to join Quentin for that one on Thursday this week. We will continue our State of the Bears series with our kind of rotating series of guests. And Bulls and Blackhawks got a lot coming up. NBA draft, NHL draft are both on the horizon here in the next couple of weeks. My Christmas morning is July 1st because NHL free agency opens and all hell breaks loose in the NHL world. So be sure to follow along over at Four Feathers as well as Bulls on Tap for all of that that's coming up here in the not so distant future. And then again, Cubs fans, we all know the drill. You got friends that like the Southsiders. We do too. Send your friend to our friends over at Sox on Tap. OnTapSportsNet.com, at OnTapSportsNet on social media, the OnTap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Series wins are awesome. We love when they keep piling them up. Like Scott said earlier, 4-1-1 in their last 6 series. Only one loss. They split that one with the Padres. 4 series wins in their last 6. Keep doing that. You got a great opportunity against the Pirates here with 2 off days, albeit a lot of travel involved in that to go across the pond, and then 2 with the Cardinals over in the UK. I am Ron Luce. As always, it's been a pleasure. Happy Father's Day once again to all the dads out there. And I'm going to get out of here the only way we know how, at Cubs on Tap. As always, fuck the Cardinals. As always, well, at least in this case, because they're coming up on the schedule, fuck the Pirates. And let's go Cubbies.